revisiting that Aristotle said that there are 6 kinds of political systems, in which 3 are perverted forms: democracy, tyranny, and oligarchy. All right. So 3 are perverted forms: democracy, tyranny, and oligarchy. But 3 are good form, such as polity, monarchy, and aristocracy, in which Aristotle says that polity is best for him. So this was classification. Right? Aristotle arrived at this classification by studying that how democracy, oligarchy, tyranny, aristocracy, polity, etc. functions. Okay, how do or what are the impacts of this kind of political system on the people? And then he arrives at the conclusion: this is the perverted form, this is the corrupt form, this is the good form, or this is the ideal form of government. Okay, maybe in some other class, or if you want to know, we will have a separate lecture on these 6 forms of political system, but I'm just giving you an example that how or why classification happens. Okay, so the third reason that we compare is because we form certain hypotheses. So once we have a description and we are able to classify different kinds of political systems, we are also at a position now to actually hypothesize, as in we can say with certainty कि हमने 5 देशों को पढ़ा, उनका समाज ऐसा था, उनके समाज के वैल्यूज, सोशल वैल्यूज इस तरीके से थे, और उन सब में हमने देखा कि those social societies which were liberal in nature, वहाँ पर डेमोक्रेसी सर्वाइव करता है as a form of government. And so you will make a hypothesis now, and you will say that there is a relationship between nature of society, what are the societal values, and the form of government. And so liberal societies, which is decentralized in nature, will prefer democratic form of government over, say, an authoritarian form of government. So this will be your hypothesis when you and you have to prove it by doing research. All right. So you cannot form a hypothesis without the knowledge of different societies and without the categories. All right. So the third would be that we form hypothesis. Okay. And hypothesis is formed based on our knowledge, based on the ideas. Right? इसलिए आप देखते हो कोई भी research, when you start with a problem, it is expected that you have a hypothesis, which can be wrong, which can be right. All right? But a hypothesis, you arrive at a hypothesis with the existing knowledge, with the help of the existing knowledge. Right? So existing knowledge is essential. Existing categories are essential. Okay, then only you can say that I think this is how a society will react to a certain phenomena. For instance, let me give you another example, that after the decolonization, जब World War II के बाद बहुत सारे देश आज़ाद हुए, so American theorists, political scientists ने कहा कि democracy will be very difficult to survive in many of these newly independent countries, क्योंकि उनके लिए डेमोक्रेसी वही जगह पे सरवाइव करेगी या फिर उसी सोसाइटीज़ में सरवाइव करेगी जहाँ हेट्रोजेनिटी कम हो, जहाँ प्लुरैलिटी कम हो, और इकोनॉमिक स्टेटस या इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट ऑलरेडी एक पॉइंट ऑफ स्टेज पर पहुंच गया है. सो अ सोसाइटी मस्ट नॉट बी वेरी पुअर और डिप्राइव्ड ऑफ इट्स इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट, एंड ऑल्सो plurality was not a kind of good indicator for a robust democracy. एक जैसे ही लोग चाहिए, एक ही भाषा चाहिए, वहीं पर सर्वाइव कर पाएगी डेमोक्रेसी. दिस was their hypothesis, okay, which later leads to prediction also many a times, and we will look after some time. But hypothesis is that those countries where there are plurality, there are heterogeneity like India, and also poverty, no economic development just after independence, democracy will cease to survive. Right? This was how American political thinkers or political theorists used to think about India or write about India in 1950s. कि यहाँ पर तो डेमोक्रेसी सर्वाइव कर ही नहीं पाएगा 10 साल या उससे ज़्यादा, क्योंकि यहाँ इतनी गरीबी है और ऊपर से इतना ज़्यादा प्लुरैलिटी हमारे देश में कि how will state cater to the interest of all these people, because we do not have that economic strength, economic power. Okay, so this becomes a kind of hypothesis to test. All right, so and ये hypothesis आप कैसे arrive हुए, या फिर how did you come to this hypothesis? Because you had description of a country like India, its society, and you have also description of country like US, UK, and other advanced democracies, or not democracies, at least advanced economic powerhouses. And then you have classified कि डेमोक्रेसी अगर यूएस में है तो उसके कुछ सर्टेन फीचर्स हैं. वो फीचर्स ये है कि प्लुरैलिटी बहुत कम है, एक जैसी भाषाएं हैं, एक जैसा धर्म है, एक जैसे लोग सोचते हैं, और दूसरा इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट बहुत ज़्यादा है. ओके, सो स्टेट बहुत कुछ वेलफेयर कर रहा है, तो लोगों के इंटरेस्ट्स को फुलफिल कर पा रहा है, तो लोगों में डिसकंटेंट कम है, डिससेटिस्फैक्शन कम है, एंड देयरफॉर डेमोक्रेसी वर्क्स. राइट, तो ये उन्होंने क्लासिफाई किया और फिर उन्होंने देखा कि इंडिया में ये सारी चीज़ें हैं नहीं, तो इंडिया में बहुत मुश्किल होगी सर्वाइव करना. एंड देन दे स्टार्टेड विथ अ हाइपोथेसिस दैट इंडियन डेमोक्रेसी विल नॉट सर्वाइव फॉर से 10 years आफ्टर इंडिपेंडेंस. उन्होंने रिसर्च से इस हाइपोथेसिस के साथ में गए. They said that our research proves that this is going to be right. Right? So this is going to be right is prediction. Right? ये भविष्यवाणी है. This is okay. So remember the fourth reason that why we compare is prediction, because we humans love making prediction. हम लोग भविष्यवाणी करना ही चाहते हैं. Right? But now let's stick to the third point now, that hypothesis, that based on the accumulation of knowledge or the knowledge repository that we have, we hypothesize about a society, about a political system, about a country. Right? And that is why we compare, because we want to know about other societies. Right? Associated with this hypothesis is prediction, that when your hypothesis is right, it is somewhat near to prediction. जैसा कि अमेरिकन्स ने हमारे बारे में कहा था, या फिर हमारे जैसे बहुत सारे देशों के बारे में कहा था कि डेमोक्रेसी सर्वाइव करेगी, या इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट कैसा होगा, इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन कैसा होगा, ये सारे पॉइंट्स. ओके, सो वी वांट टू मेक प्रेडिक्शन अबाउट इंडिया or any other country. For instance, right now हम लोग कह रहे हैं ना कि 2047 में we will be a developed country. Right? विकसित भारत is going on. What is this? This is prediction, right? And this prediction we are making with the help of description of a country, data, lots of data, economic progress, and classification. Right? Classification of all those countries along with India who has or which has similar kind of growth rate at this point of time. Right? How world is receiving us or recepting us, how is our economic development going on. With the help of all these classification, we are making a prediction that India should be developed by 2047, right? Or we will develop India by 2047. And this prediction is one of the factor behind comparison that comparative politics is done to predict about. Okay, and this was just the in the economic field that I had given you example. It can be well in the political field also. जैसे कि डेमोक्रेसी सर्वाइव करेगा या नहीं करेगा, जैसे ब्रिटिशर्स अमेरिकन्स ने कहा हमें 1950 के बारे में. We have proved their prediction wrong, with exception to 1975 national emergency, but we have been so far very peacefully transitioning our power. Transfer of power is happening peacefully. We have a very robust election commission of India. We are having free and fair election. We have a very impartial, neutral election commission which is conducting elections across the center and the states. Okay, and we survived as a very vibrant and substantive democracy, right? Our representation is getting deepening with time, right? Different societies which were hitherto unrepresented are now coming into the political system and participating in contesting as well as voting, right? So we have proved them wrong. So prediction can be wrong. Okay, so now for instance, we are predicting something about a country like Sri Lanka, all right, due to their economic instability and debt trap. We are saying that Sri Lanka as a democracy, how will it perform? We are very unsure about it, but we are sure about a country like Bangladesh, or we are very unsure about a country like Pakistan or Afghanistan, right? So this prediction has in the back of our mind lots of data, lots of description, lots of classification happening, categorization happening based on the characteristics of how the societies in Pakistan or Afghanistan functions. We predict that whether a country is stable or not, whether the government will be stable or not, right? State, how will the state capacity be? We are unsure about it. But when it comes to state capacity, we are very comfortable about countries like, say, Bangladesh. Okay, we know that state in many of the countries will be able to deliver the social welfare, the public policy measures very effectively to the people. Okay, so prediction. Similarly, countries want to know about each other. When a country wants to make a bilateral relation or foreign relations, obviously you need information. You will see that in 1950s when the then superpowers US and USSR were accumulating information of many countries that were recently got independence from the Britain or some other European powers, because based on which they will decide which country was important for them, to which country they want to make friends or make bilateral treaties, or to which country they just wanted to use for their strategic locations. All right, so these countries made satellite countries also. Okay, so this was the basis, or comparison was the basis. Okay, so that is why we compare. All right, so to sum up, we compare because we want to know about the description of a country, of a political system, of a society. So we need to have contextual description. We need to know about context. Okay, then you will able to know about a society or a political system. बिना context के आप कैसे किसी के बारे में कुछ judgment pass कर सकते हो? आपको पता होना चाहिए ना कहीं कुछ दो लोगों ने लड़ाई कर ली, केस हो गया, वो कोर्ट में गया, वहाँ बहस होती है, जज क्या पहले ही दिन में जजमेंट सुना देते हैं? या फिर बिना दोनों की कहानियाँ सुने हुए वो कैसे सुना पाएंगे कि कौन सही था कौन गलत था? वकील इसलिए तो होते हैं ना, एविडेंस चाहिए, कौन गलत है क्या सही है, उससे पहले क्या हुआ, कॉन्टेक्स्ट क्या है, किस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में क्या हुआ. All these things are essential to arrive at a judgment. Okay, so we compare because we want to know the description, the contextual description. All right, so let's sum up. We compare because we want to know the contextual description. Okay, second thing, we compare because we want to categorize these information. हम ये जो descriptions information आया है, हम उसे categorize करना चाहते हैं, हम उसके कुछ features जानना चाहते हैं. okay? हम एक classification करना चाहते हैं, so we compare to classify, okay? To categorize. आपको एडमिशन लेना होता है कहीं, तो आप देखते हो ना कौन सा कॉलेज अच्छा है, कौन सा यूनिवर्सिटी अच्छा है, और वो अच्छा खराब उसके कुछ कैटेगरीज होते हैं ना. अगर कोई कॉलेज में टीचर्स अच्छे हैं, क्लासेस रेगुलर चल रहे हैं, प्लेसमेंट अच्छा है, उसके अच्छे एलुमनाई हैं, तो आप कहते हो ना ये अच्छा है, राइट? सो कैटेगरीज, राइट? थर्ड रीजन, वी कंपेयर बिकॉज वी have or humans have hypothesis for any kind of society. Okay, so we want to go ahead with our knowledge and the categorization. Okay, so हम अपने इस categorization को किसी और society पर टेस्ट करना चाहते हैं, चेक करना चाहते हैं. okay? कि हमें जो पता है ये तीसरी सोसाइटी पर भी ऐसे ही लागू होगा अगर पहले कुछ फीचर्स एक जैसे हैं. फॉर इंस्टेंस आपको कहा गया कि अच्छा कॉलेज क्या होता है उसके बारे में इंफॉर्मेशन दो, तो आपने कहा कि यही चार, रेगुलर क्लासेस, अच्छे फैकल्टी, गुड प्लेसमेंट एंड गुड अपॉर्चुनिटीज़. आपको दे दिया गया कि ये चार चीज़ें आपने फाइंड आउट किया कि ये चार कैटेगरीज हैं, अगर ये इस पर कॉलेज अच्छा परफॉर्म कर रहा है, इसे गुड कॉलेज. फिर आपसे पूछा गया कि आपको अब पता लगाना है कि व्हाट आर द फीचर्स ऑफ अ गुड कॉलेज. देन यू विल हैव टू हाइपोथेसाइज कि एक अच्छा कॉलेज वही होगा जिसके ये चार फीचर्स होंगे. पांचवा भी हो सकता है, कुछ छठा भी हो सकता है, तीन ही होंगे, but now you have a kind of model given to you. There are certain parameters given to you and you just have to hypothesize, right? So hypothesis building is an important task for comparison. And fourth is that जब आपके पास ये सब कुछ होता है, ऑलराइट, डिस्क्रिप्शन है, आपने कैटेगरीज भी बना लिए हैं, फीचर्स है, आपने हाइपोथेसिस भी बिल्ड कर लिए हैं, सो योर कंक्लूजन you will predict about some other kind of societies, other kind of political system, right? So you will enlarge or broaden your finding to a completely new societies, new countries, right? So this is what prediction will do, and that is why we compare, right? इसलिए रिसर्च मेथड्स में हम देखते हैं कि डिडक्टिव होता है, इंडक्टिव होता है, all these kinds of things we will study in next lecture, but these are the ways of thinking, how you arrive at a prediction or how you test your hypothesis, right? So these are the tools and techniques of doing comparative political analysis, right? So ये चार चीज़ें आप याद रखिए, why we compare and the explanation that we had. In the next lecture, we are going to deal with a question which is associated with why is how we compare. Right? So why we compare, you know, but how we compare, what are the methods, what are the approaches to compare in political science, right? So in the next lecture we will deal with this question, right? So meanwhile, listen to this lecture, make notes. We are also putting some notes on our blog or on our channel. Ask questions, come with various examples of, say, hypothesis making and prediction, right? Comment below and share it. Thank you.